move their stock to a secure storage facility. It's not going to hurt my pension or my budget because I get to bill them for the expenses. And I issue them a violation ticket. See, under the old law, you had to go to court all the time if you wanted to charge somebody. But under this new law, they can choose, well, we can take you to court, or we can issue you an administrative violation ticket. It doesn't go to court. And this is being billed to business as a good thing, because if they take you to court, A, it's expensive, legal fees, stuff like that, and B, you're looking at, $1 million fines. But if they charge you administratively, you don't have the expense of court, and the fines are limited to a couple $1,000s. Like, honestly, they are small, and so this is viewed as good. So they issue an administrative violation, and the only charge is you did not follow the recall order on day one. Now, if you're charged in court, you're presumed innocent. If you're issued an administrative violation and do nothing, you're deemed to be guilty. If you go to court, you're innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But in administrative, you're presumed guilty, and you have to prove on a higher standard balance of probabilities that you're innocent. Obviously, if you're charged in court, you go to court. If administratively, you never get to go to court, you never get to go anywhere. You can only appeal to the minister in writing. If you go to court, your two main defenses are honest but mistaken belief and due diligence. This law specifically takes those away for administrative offenses. And the only issue when you appeal, other than maybe the amount of the fine, is did you violate the order or not? You can't say the order was stupid, the order shouldn't have been made. No, none of that. The only issue is, did you violate the order? Well, obviously you failed to satisfy the minister that you're innocent because you didn't follow the order, did you? So now here's where this act gets really fun. It says that if you're found guilty of an offense, such as an administrative offense, the minister can choose to keep seized property. Wasn't that kind of neat? So the very person who gets to decide whether you've proven you're innocent can then decide without ever going to court to keep your property. Would you tolerate that with a judge? So you're charged criminally, and you know that if the judge finds you guilty, the judge can keep your house? Like, would we tolerate that? No, but this new law, that's how it's written. It's absolutely over the top. And it kind of begs the question as to whether or not it makes us safe, and obviously the fact that, the company would be destroyed in secrecy. It actually gets worse. So the minister decides to keep the factory and keep the stock, but I'm the Health Canada inspector. I'm still angry at the managers for not following my orders. So I charge the managers and the owner criminally for not following my order on day 2 and day 3. It's actually 4 separate offenses. And the court agrees that they didn't follow my orders and fines them, close to $1 million. They're destroyed financially. I mean, they're bankrupted by the orders because this new law allows us to charge every decision maker personally. So anyone involved in the decision making not to follow the orders can be charged personally, not just the company. Now, what happens is sometimes when you start a small business and you work for decades and build it up, well, by the time you get Health Canada attention, you're too old to start again. I mean, could you imagine you're in the mid-50s? You're not going to recover, so you get to spend your old age being impoverished. Does this make you feel safe? And as I say, this is all done in secrecy. So what grieves me is I have to change my legal advice. See, before, if a company like this approached me and we determined there wasn't a safety risk, we could say, well, no, actually you can defy them. There's not a safety risk. You're not going to be charged with criminal negligence. You're not going to be sued to death. And if Health Canada is really concerned, they can go to court, and a court will decide between you, fairly adjudicate, and you can survive. And that's my life fighting Health Canada for natural health product manufacturers. But under this new law, because I know that if the managers, the decision makers defy Health Canada, they can be destroyed personally, they can be bankrupted. I know I can't save the company, right? As soon as that I pick up the phone and they say they've ordered me to recall every product I've sold for 13 years, I know I can't save the company. The company's bankrupted. So now all I can try to do is save the managers from personal bankruptcy. So I actually have to get the company out of business as quickly as possible, just like destroy their stock before Health Canada even asks, so it's done cheaply, because if Health Canada seizes and charges, it's way more expensive. And I have to try, and you know, Health Canada says jump 2 feet, we jump 3 feet so the managers aren't charged and destroyed personally. It's kind of like, you know, when the soldiers used to come out of the castle, you learn not to resist. That's what happens with tyranny, is you learn not to resist. And the reason why I was so against Bill C-51, which would have given them these powers over natural health product manufacturers, suppliers, practitioners, is I could not stomach the prospect of telling them that they have to take products or treatments off the market that people rely on, or you'll be destroyed personally. So it's a huge problem. I want to read to you a quote from Friedrich von Hayek in The Road to Serfdom. Anyone read that book, The Road to Serfdom? Oh, this is the first crowd that hasn't. Zoe somebody. He's a famous Austrian economist. He's dead now. But advocated for private property rights for freedom reasons. And he has a quote. He says, "The system of private property is the most important guarantee of freedom, not only for those who own property, but scarcely less for those who don't." And the point he's just trying to make is if you allow the government to take control over private property, if you don't guarantee property rights with independent supervision, then basically you're going to lose your freedom. That's the breach in the dam. That's the point that he was trying to make. Now, I think it would be fair to say, and it's my opinion, that one of the most dangerous things a populist can do is allow the rule of law to be undermined. And yet, not only is my generation allowing the rule of law to be undermined, we actually are encouraging our politicians to do it. Every party in the House of Commons supported the passage of Bill C-52. If we back up to Bill C-51, the act that we were all concerned about for natural health products, every party supported it in first reading, and at least one of the opposition parties criticized the government for not going far enough. Did you know that? I mean, two of the opposition parties changed their tune before the election and opposed it, but only because we got upset. They're not paying attention, and my generation, we're not paying attention because we haven't been trained to think about freedom. In fact, the opposite. We've been trained not to think about freedom. I've been trained, my generation has been trained to just believe that Canada is the freest, safest country in the world, and that the idea that we would have to pay attention and actually defend our freedom, it's foreign to us. Okay, but we're going to lose our freedoms unless we start defending them. So what is freedom? Anyone want to venture a guess? Nothing else to lose. Hey, yes, there's some truth to that, isn't there? I pulled out my Black's Law Dictionary in preparing for the lecture, and I love their definition of freedom. According to Black's, freedom is the state of being free, liberty, self-determination, absence of restraint, and my favorite, the opposite of slavery. Isn't that interesting? Well, when you think about it, that is what freedom is, isn't it? It's the opposite of slavery. I mean, literally, we could imagine over there absolute slavery, total slavery, and opposite to it, total freedom. And the truth is every time we give up a freedom, we're a step closer to slavery. And that's an interesting concept because Canadians, we've been conditioned to demand the government pass laws every time one of us is hurt. Every time some problem arises, we demand that laws be passed, which by definition are enslaving us one step at a time. We don't think about freedom. Now, we can't have absolute freedom. I get that. I mean, if